interesting story. He had a stroke. I don't know, about 25, 30 years ago, maybe. And one half of his body is completely paralyzed. And also, he couldn't speak, except for he can chant, if you can believe that. And he didn't lose his beautiful voice. He was a professional singer before he joined the Krishna consciousness movement. And he didn't lose his spirit either. He comes to all the programs, and with half a body, he dances. And then we have Bhakti Marg Swami, the most encouraging person on the planet, whomever he sees, wherever he goes, his main purpose of life to encourage others. And then he's a great Kirtaniya. And then my godbrother Gora Das comes, and Krishna Das Kaviraj. And then we just have a kirtan. And then we just feel like dancing. We can't help ourselves. We dance and see each other dancing and singing, and we feel happy. So you have to have that. And in the spiritual world, that's what goes on. Krishna dances with his friends, and he plays flute, and there's rhythm, and all the time. Shreya kanta kanta paramapurusha kalpataravo druma bhumischintamani ganami toyam amritam kataganam natyam gamanamapi vamshi priyasaki. See the flutes there? And Krishna's the source of all the scales that catch our attention. When you hear a particular scale, and then, oh, that felt really, that was a moving sound, the sound of the scale. And Krishna, he's the origin of all of them. In fact, all of the ragas, in the science of Indian music, there's raga, that there's a particular way that we get moved by the tones in a scale and the way they're assembled. And every one of them comes from a personality in the spiritual world. There's millions of them. They all emanate from Krishna's devotees who are pleasing him through the aesthetics of music and reciprocating by playing music, dancing, singing, and so on. And then if you sit down for prasadam with other devotees and you honor prasadam and you feel happy, and then you have something to do to engage, to like spread Krishna consciousness, or you have a job for typing. Like, okay, take this stack and type everything out. Or you have some job in cleaning. It's your job to clean the temple, or to take care of the vehicles. In St. Louis, Missouri, we used to have about 20 vans, and they each one of them, they all looked exactly the same, except they had a number on them. And they would go out from the temple, so on traveling Sankirtan, they'd come back on the weekends, and our head cook and head mechanic Datta Prabhu had a tent, and they'd all drive in the tent, and he'd service the vans, and he was always fully engaged. So we can connect with the eternal spiritual world through the process of bhakti, and we have to have that engagement and also contact with the aesthetics of the spiritual world imported here through the great devotees in their songs and their bhajans and the mantras and the music and so forth, in order to lift us above the mundane reality or temporary forms and sounds of the material world. Otherwise, it's guaranteed we'll go back into the sounds and sights and relationships of the material world unless we have superior ones, which are spiritual. Om Tat Sat. Now let's just have a few reflections. Or questions. And the board is now open. Sindhu Kanya Devi Dasi has opened the board for your reviews. Go ahead, Kota Karnava. I can tell you would say something. You're smiling. Bhakti Raffaella, thank you for. Terra firma is in Italian, used also related to sailing, earth being still, not waving like sea waves, giving the impression that in a navy, the ground is always moving. Thank you very much, Bhaktin Rafaela. Terra firma. The spiritual world is the real terra firma because it's the stable place. This material world's always moving. Krishna describes it in the Gita.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I was just smiling at the comment that Malini Mataji mentioned in the chat box. She said that she has a desire that we can have 20 Sankirtan vans someday in the future, like St. Louis. So that was the comment I was smiling at.
Yeah, we can have that. And this goes to the ambition. We all have this tendency to want to build something. We're little creators. And if you have a stake in the Krishna consciousness movement where you can build something for Lord Chaitanya, then you'll feel satisfied that you have some enterprise. So Malini, you can get that, 20 vans. You just put a little number on each side and they send them out to places all over the country. Madhava Govinda, you'll go?
Yes, Maharaj, definitely.
He'll go. He'll take one. There's one van. Anybody else want a van? Just say yes, and then you can sort it out later. Okay, Subhadra will take a van for sure. She's up for all these things.
We will also take one.
You'll take a van? Okay. Malini, you got 3 already. 17 to go.
We will also take one.
Okay, one more van for Krishna. Okay, we can get vans. No problem. It's not a big deal.
Maharaj?
Yes.
Just a reflection. It's a very good point today you raised. The example of sweet rice and then the cement.
Yeah.
Is very accurate example of how we can experience this material world. We are making grand planes, building aeroplanes, building big skyscraper buildings, going from one country to another country to, we are all doing this for happiness. But unfortunately, we can see from our own experience that, there is really no happiness from, anywhere in this material world. Whether you go to USA or go to this country or that country, there is misery everywhere. There is death everywhere. There is unhappiness everywhere. And, the dissatisfaction, we can also see dissatisfaction. So the only solution, is like taking up the mission of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Thank you very much, Tadiya Seva. Those words will resonate in our minds and hearts. Let's look at the verse again. There was a lot in the purport. I want to go through a few points here. It's poetry, actually. So the verse, the land there is touchstone, Chintamani, and the forest abound with desire trees. Material eyes see it as an ordinary place. And then Prabhupada writes, by the grace of the Lord, his dhammas, and he himself can all be present simultaneously without losing their original importance. Only when one fully develops in affection and love of Godhead can one see those dhammas in their original appearance. So in the Brahma Samhita, Brahma says, Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santaksadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. The way that we see Krishna is by changing the way we see the world. If we're imbued with love for Krishna, by getting it through association with those who love him, then we'll see him in everything and see him within our own hearts naturally. So that's the difficulty, is that I'm afflicted with avidya or ignorance, which really means I have an aversion to hearing about Krishna, to being with Krishna. It's irrational, but it is a result of developing this kind of aversion that the whole world looks like a gray place. Srila Narottam Das Thakur, a great acharya in the preceptorial line of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has said for our benefit that one can perfectly see the dhams only when one completely gives up the mentality of lording over material nature. So let's just discuss for a minute what it means to completely give up the mentality of lording it over material nature. So there are ways that I want to manipulate every circumstance in my life so it comes out in my favor. Yes or no? Yeah. And so it's ingrained, this idea that I'm the controller, I'm the center. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, try to be not like that. Try to be, that was a funny sentence, but anyway, try to be not like that. Be humble. Don't be the center, but try to, just in a simple way. I notice about myself, say I get together with a few people and devotees and we're sitting, and then I want to bring the conversation back to what I'm doing. So I did this, so this is what I think, this is my opinion on the whole thing. Not that we become nondescript, but the fact is that I notice it in myself. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, try to be a little more deferential to others, and step out of the center and see how you feel about it. A devotee named Karandar Prabhu from the old days, he was a big leader. Prabhupada gave him a lot of responsibility because he was super smart. And he became one of the first GBCs. He was the temple president for a while. His brother, Keshava, was also the temple president up here in San Francisco. In any case, I saw a memories video that he made talking about Prabhupada, and he was saying about himself that when he left LA to travel to a few other places, he started feeling uncomfortable, and then he did some self-searching and he noticed, I feel uncomfortable because I'm not the center of the attention here. I'm not the main one in charge in these other places. Therefore, I feel a little uncomfortable, like a small fish in a big pond. And so that feeling can actually be a taste for being humble and not in the center, can be developed because of what it offers us to step out of that mentality. And as we talked about before, the nectar of insignificance, that I'm not so important. I'm letting others be important. I'm putting Krishna in the center. Then how do we feel? And if we can start to feel the nectar of that insignificance, then it's helpful in opening ourselves to Krishna consciousness. Shamarupa Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Pranam. Thank you for...
Hare Krishna Shamarupa, good to see you.
Thank you for another wonderful and inspiring class as always. I really liked so many things, but one point I really liked your closing remarks. Like before concluding the class, you mentioned that we should connect ourselves to spiritual vibration, Acharya's prayers, in order to transcend us from the material entanglement. Otherwise, for sure, we'll be trapped with the material vibration. That was so powerful, actually. I was just remembering, I was just reading Chaitanya Bhagavati yesterday. In the opening, like in the beginning section, it was mentioning how Srivas used to always, Srivas and Advaita Acharyas mentioned, they used to always loudly chant and with ghanta and all, and people would be like, they'll not appreciate it so much. And even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu afterwards, but they will be in complete ecstasy. Even afterwards, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he used to always encourage chanting, and he used to chant and dance. In fact, the whole pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from babyhood also, he would encourage everybody to chant. And even in the later pastime, it's always about chanting and reading Bhagavatam. So I was just uh, remembering your instruction also, that you concluded so beautifully, that we should always some prayer, some chanting, so that we can pull ourselves out of this uh, vibration. Thank you so much for that, Manoj.
Nice point, Shamarupa Prabhu. Ganta Bhaje. And then Madhur, Madhur, Madhur Bhaje. In Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song about the Panchatattva and his darshan of them, and how the devotees are singing, and the tumult of the kirtan is going on. It carries one away. How many of you have ever been in a kirtan where you were carried away? It wasn't that you were just enjoying the kirtan, but you went crazy, actually. You lost yourself. You jumped up, you started dancing. You didn't care what anybody else thought, what you looked like dancing. Yeah, and you didn't even practically know. You were just kind of lifted off the ground because the kirtan was so intense, and there was a spontaneous combustion in the crowd, and everybody got up. Can you remember a kirtan like that? That's important. Yes, Shraddha.
Maharaj, I was remembering how you measure the potency of a kirtan by saying that if Rasik Shekhar Prabhu starts jumping, this means that the kirtan is really going good.
That's right. The memories of those kirtans downtown Palo Alto, before we even had sit-down kirtan, we would just stand there and then we'd walk around. And Rasika Shekhar Prabhu, he's a distinguished gentleman, a doctor, and stately. He's stately looking. And I always thought he looks like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya amidst so many others. And then we'd have the kirtan is going and going. He'd be coming from work wearing his very sort of casual but very nice formal clothes. And then all of a sudden the kirtan would reach an apex and he'd begin dancing and just going wild. And I can remember watching people walking down the street watching. It's like, wow, how can you do that? It's a mystic power that you can be on the street and just dance in abandon like that. And yes, as Shraddha so aptly remembers, that it was a barometer. It's like when Rasika Shekhar dances, we know the kirtan hit that chord where we're carried away from. And this point that Shamarupa Prabhu is making, we need that. We have to be in some kirtan where we're actually lifted up. The first time I came to the first morning, I remember I was at the temple. I had joined in the afternoon. And then the next day, and there were a couple of sannyasis there. They had recently taken sannyas, and they had come from Vrindavan, and they were staying in the temple. Actually, they put me in the garage next to the temple. That was my new bhakta quarters. And those sannyasis were staying there too. So we came from Mangalartik in the morning, and we came in and the kirtan got going, and they were so excited. They were so into kirtan. They were playing, and they would jump high. Especially one of them was kind of an athlete before he joined. He could jump really high. He'd play the drum, jump high into the air. And from my eyes, I didn't know what was going on, except that it was ecstatic. And to my vision, every time they started jumping and dancing, I said, now they're seeing Krishna. They just saw him again. And I was intrigued by it. You know, the envelopment of the kirtan with the devotees dancing on all sides. I have a godbrother. He's still alive and well. I think he lives in the Dham. His name's Vijatatma. He used to dance at every kirtan. It doesn't matter how slow or fast it was. He would jump up and down and dance at every kirtan to take advantage of it. And I know that that kind of engagement, being absorbed in kirtan and feeling of course, his philosophy was, if you're not feeling like dancing, dance anyway, and then you will feel like dancing. What is the harm? But that kind of absorption is important to carry us away. We can't live on just philosophy or even just japa. We're not Haridas Thakur. We have to have the experience, all these various experiences to make us feel whole in Krishna consciousness. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, I have reflections here. Lots of them. Mayank, I'm still appreciating Bhakti and Raphaela's terra firma thing. Mayank, based on today's discussion, it seems that in this whole life, we are all working on creating our personal spaceship based on our consciousness and activities. At the end of life, this spaceship can take us to either material planets if we remain in Maya, or spiritual planets if we engage in bhakti. Nice point. It was one that Prabhupada made, An Easy Journey to Other Planets. I must admit that the title of that book intrigued me. I wanted to read that right away. It was one of the books that was advertised in the Back to Godhead magazine that I got, Easy Journey to Other Planets. I said, I got to hear what that's about. And it's a science that we are the spaceship. And the way that we're developing our consciousness, Krishna said, is consequential, highly consequential. In fact, I heard a lecture just yesterday where Prabhupada said, if you have a pinch of desire for enjoying the material world, the material nature will accommodate you. And so we may think, well, how could it possibly be that I don't have a pinch of desire for material enjoyment? Because if we have a superior enjoyment, if we only want to be in kirtan, if we only want to be taking prasadam with the devotees, and if we only want 20 vans for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we transfer all our ambitions and our sense of social engagement and everything to a superior level. Then you get, okay, you have spiritual desires, and that's reasonable. That can be done. And then at the time of death, yang vapi smaran bhavam tajet yante kalevram. There's a way that we're propelled. Okay, Malini's gonna weigh in on the vans and other things probably too. Go ahead, Malini.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhu. Prabhu, I had a question regarding the Gaurangera Jyotipada, the song by Narottam Das Thakur. It is there, one of the verses that says that one who understands that the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are free from material contamination, and they are his associates, then they immediately be promoted to the Goloka Vrindavan. So how can we see that amongst the devotees, everybody as associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they're free of material contamination?
Well, I was thinking just recently about how rare devotees are, because in walking through the park, I hear some of the conversations that are going on. For instance, early this morning, I went for a walk and I heard conversation going on, and a verse came to my mind. Shrotav yadini rajendra nrinam santi sahasrasaha apashyatamatmatvam griheshu grihamedinam. Shukadev Goswami mentions that you can understand the material atmosphere by the conversations going on. What are people listening to and hearing? And I just overheard a mundane conversation where I detected that it was a conversation just for the sake of talking. And one person was saying something that was unimportant in relationship to our ultimate goal of life. And the other person was just engaging them, listening sort of politely. And I thought, all these conversations go on in various circles around the world, but those whose conversations have come to the point of discussing Krishna and Lord Chaitanya's teachings, Krishna's teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, and who are interested in hearing it, are actually liberated souls because of their deliberate choice of what they want to hear. To the degree that I'm interested in hearing about Krishna, to that degree that I'm a liberated soul. This is the equation Jiva Goswami gives. We can tell for ourselves, we can judge it in ourselves how much I'm attracted to hearing about Krishna consciousness, about Krishna. I'm going in that direction. So Rupa Goswami says, Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasa gira nikila apyavastasu jivan muktasu uchite. Those who are, even in this world, in this body, fully engaged with their minds, their words, and their bodies, they're liberated even in this life and in this body. And it's also inconceivable of how powerful Lord Chaitanya's mercy is, because as we can see, even those who didn't intend to get his mercy in certain ways, Gopinath Patanyayaka was in a very difficult situation with the government. He had some indiscretion in his taxes and paying his taxes. And, he was unnecessarily being punished. And then afterwards, there was a inordinate result from Lord Chaitanya's mercy, that he was not only saved from the punishment, but reinstated in his work. We're not interested in getting some material benefit, but the author, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, points out that Mahaprabhu's mercy came to him automatically. And so what to speak of those who have an inkling of desire to help in the Sankirtan movement? That's not the perfect comparison. I would compare more to those who were inimical towards Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then still were able to get his blessings. And then what to speak of those who deliberately line up to be in his service by joining the Sampradaya, by then changing their lifestyle habits, all for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and maintaining that throughout their life. How abundant, what to speak of automatic, will be the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if we think in terms of how merciful Krishna is even to demons, what to speak of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is more merciful than Krishna, and that those who are interested in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and serving in his mission, how fortunate they are, and how automatic Lord Chaitanya's mercy is for those devotees. That's one way of looking at it, Malini. Okay, we have either Sukeshri or Ramakrishna.
Prabhu's first, Prabhu.
Oh, okay. That's your mantra. You always say these things. Okay, go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. I was a little tired yesterday and started putting Bhakti community stickers to the pamphlets. So I just, my mind was saying like, why are you wasting your time? Like, look out the window. So many things are going on. So I was just thinking like, enough is enough. Like, you already chewed a lot. Like, so let's listen one lecture and then see how you respond. Like, I was just laughing myself. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Shraddha, what was his main point? I'm trying to understand.
Sorry.
So Maharaj, his main point was how the mind gets distracted. So he was trying to put some stickers, and the mind was saying, look out of the window and see wonderful things going outside. But then he has a realization that he had chewed enough of that. Punar charvita.
Oh, that's a good realization. To actually feel it in ourselves that I've had enough of chewing the material world. Let me try for something else. It's a difficult situation, though. I have to acknowledge this, because although to say, okay, there's a higher taste, and then there's the material world, which is chewing the chewed, there's an interim point too, where we may get caught. And Krishna acknowledges this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, just because you know there's a higher taste in Krishna consciousness, and even if you've had it a few times, it doesn't mean that you live there completely. And there's a journey to take to get from being attracted to the material world and settling for that to the full-time engagement in Krishna consciousness, where the taste is so full-blown that there's no going back. There's a wide desert to cross there. So we have to have help to get over that desert, in a caravan together. This is what we got right here, a little caravan. And, going crossing that gap so that we can get to the full-time engagement and the full-blown taste for Krishna consciousness. So don't be discouraged if you end up in that very interesting space where okay, I don't have full taste for Krishna consciousness. I already know the material world is dry, but I still can't give it up. So what is Krishna's advice? He says in a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Jata Shraddha Makatasu Nirvina Sarva Karmasu Veda Dukkha Makankamams Prityage Panishvara Tato Bhajeta Mamprita Shraddhalur Dridhanishchaya Jushamanams Tatankamams Dukho Darkams Jagarayan. He mentions that somebody may know that the material world is a dry place and that everything they do here for sense gratification leads to misery. You may know that fully, he says. But then Prityage Pyanishvara means you may not have the power to give it up yet. Isn't that an interesting space? On a scale of 1 to 10, how interesting is it? A 9?
10.
6? 2? 1? Okay, so then he says, what should you do? Don't give up. Keep going. Keep stay in the process. I think the very fact that he acknowledges that we may be in that space sometimes is very encouraging, isn't it? That he knows, okay, yeah, you're going to be in that space. Keep going, because gradually you'll come to the ultimate stage. And he says you can have a little pinch of remorse, but don't get all depressed, because first of all, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that you're going to get there no matter what, eventually. So don't worry. It's not that you're going to miss it. And second of all, if you get morose, chronically morose about your condition, that I'll never get out of this, then you can sabotage yourself, self-sabotage. It's one of the tricks of Maya to make me disappointed or illusioned, maybe blame the process, blame somebody else, blame myself, I'll never be there. So he said, don't do that either. So there's a little advice that he gives there. Sukeshwari.
Prabhu, I was just thinking, you had mentioned about one of the devotees, one of the persons who had gone to a different temple, and he realized that, he was usually leading, but then there he was not. And I was just thinking I understood this way, correct me if I'm wrong. I was just thinking that a living entity, till the living entity gives up the ahankar, it's me, for satisfying my ego, I'll never be able to really satisfy Krishna. So how do we do that? Just giving up that I'm the doer. How much ever I try, I'm not able to give it up. So,
well, one way it's very convenient is in our Sankirtan party is to think more team rather than the individual. I've noticed that this is very practical, actually, because you get a lot of realizations from not being the main thing, the main feature. Let the team be the main thing. I preach this all the time, and it's really a kind of a practice for our Krishna consciousness that I'm not the head person, I'm not the best, and so then go for the team. How did the team do rather than how did I do, and how did I show up on it? And if you can transfer more towards, as long as the world's doing well in Krishna consciousness, rather than my score shows up, you can actually go there. You can transfer your intention that I want to see the team successful to please Prabhupada. And if you do that, it seems like a risk to your false ego that, but wait a minute, I won't be acknowledged. Well, how am I going to get credit for it? Don't worry, Krishna knows who's doing what. In fact, it's mentioned, say there's like a festival going on and there's 200 devotees sitting making garlands. And then they put them in a huge pile. And then the garlands all get offered to the Lord. He knows who made what garland. In fact, he knows what plant made the flowers for each garland. And he keeps track of all these things. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishani chabhutani mam tu veda nakashchana. Krishna says, nobody knows me, but I know all of you. I know what's going on out there. So don't worry about it. And if you can do that, use your engagement in the Sankirtan movement to transfer your sense of like, I did this, I'm the one, where's my recognition, to like let it just happen for the service of Srila Prabhupada. And then if you risk it on that level, then you'll start to see, actually, I feel better about life when I do that. And then it's a possibility you can actually start to transfer all your assets out of the false ego bank account and put them into, like, as long as it's service for Krishna, then I'm satisfied. That's the wealthiest type of person who'd already got all their assets out of that bank account that's going to be at some point closed and moved it into Krishna's bank account. Then you really got some wealth.
Thank you, Prabhu. I just feel it's like the tar stuck on me. Like the doer mentality, you know, it's like the tar on the road. It is so difficult to take out. Thank you, Prabhu.
Welcome to the material world. And that, you know, that tar example, it's a sticky substance. So no doubt the material world's a sticky place, but the Maha Mantra is the ultimate solvent. You ever get anything on your couch or your rug or your best kurta or sari, and then it's like, this is never coming out, and your friend goes over, no, you need a little club soda, that's all. You put it on there, it's like, yeah, it came right out. There are solvents. There's a solvent for everything in this world. And the solvent, the universal solvent, is the holy name. And so keep chanting, and the solvent will actually dissolve the stickiness of the material world, the false ego that seems like it'll never come out, like mango sap. In fact, the gopis said, Krishna is like a mango sap. It gets in your hair and you can never get it out. So like, we're trying to forget him, they said, and then we can't forget him. So then in spiritual life, it goes the other way. You get so entangled in Krishna consciousness, then you can't get that out of you either instead of the material world. So just transfer it. Bali Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Please
You
accept
at
my humble
Kusum?
obedience.
You at Kusum Sarovara?
Kusum Sarovar, Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble
He's a
obedience.
mystic yogi. He travels to all the dhams. Hare Krishna.
Your mercy, Prabhu. I am very fortunate to join at least Zoom, always watching the social media. So I'm just realizing that today, maybe many people forget the days, March 13th, we're celebrating 1 year of pandemic, official pandemic in US, which was declared in March 13th, 2020, the Friday. And it is just 1 year, Saturday, one day off. And after this, likely New Year starts likely in South India, Amavasya, right? The Sunny Amavasya happened yesterday. So we celebrated, and it is mentioned that those people who are expert in developing more skills and determinations, they are successful in the pandemic. And as a team ISV, we have developed our skills in distributing books in the pandemic, like virtual, online, and etc., which is people are following. And not only that, we are not proud of our skills or proud of our determinations, rather than also we are dependent on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Just like one reflection I got from the Madhya Lila, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he cured the diseases of Amogha. And when he was there, Sarvam Bhattacharya is not that, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and Amogha kahe tari buke hasta dila, means just placing the hand on the chest of Amogha, the disease is gone. So similarly, we are dependent on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, "Enechi osodhi maya nasivara lage." This real vaccine medicine is this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And thank you, Prabhuji, for you are showering your mercy every Saturday. We are so fortunate this whole weekend gets purified by your causeless mercy giving to all of us. I wanted to share my gratitude to you for this pandemic 1 year. You are developing determination and enthusiasm in all of us.
Thank you so much, Bali Mardan Prabhu, for your reflections and your generosity towards me. Yeah, you know, I think that it'll go down as one of the most productive times in our history. It was very different, but we were able to, in many ways, in personal practices, all of us isolate and look at, examine our practices. How do we do sitting in a room? I don't know, everyone has different circumstances, but there was some self-reflection required during the pandemic. And also, as Bali Prabhu points out, this development of skills. And it's marked that all over the world, devotees who applied themselves during the pandemic found that they broke through in many different ways and found new and better ways to spread Krishna consciousness. So thanks for reminding me that it's a 1 year. We've had a gift from Krishna to have this opportunity to go through this all together. It'll be on our portfolio permanently. Okay, Radha Kripa Prabhu.
Guru Maharaj. Maharaj, I wanted to add to your point when you mentioned about Krishna knows everything. Even the tree from where those flowers are, brought to make those garlands. I remember actually your two instructions when you mentioned that, I think you shared a story about Prabhupada, that one of your god brother might be, he wanted to go very close to Prabhupada. And then as he touched Prabhupada, went really close. And then he really felt that he's so far from him, even so close. And then also, I remember another instruction which you mentioned in your previous lectures also, that the devotion service is absolute. It's not that if you're doing a pujari service or you're doing far away from cleaning the toilets, there's a difference in that one. And that the same mood we try to inculcate in our Janmashtami parking, because when we were trying to organize, it's very difficult to understand that one. But once you understand that the person who is sitting in the parking lot, just taking care about the car on the day when everybody wanted to be in front of Radha Mother Mohan's deities and wanted to have darshan, that understanding, I think I really core of my heart is thankful. You are addicted that, the doubt in our mind, you have to be there. You want to be first in the line. That disappeared. Now with that clarity, we can not only do ourselves, but also encourage other people that the service is absolute. And then, Krishna noticed that it is not that you need to tell anyone. So we use that one. It really helped us to recruit the people, tell them, even if you're so far off, you are far more connected than maybe who are so close, because they may not be there at all. So I just thought to share your two instruction, which is very useful and helpful.
These are important points. Prabhupada, because he had that vision, the potential of every living entity, how devotional service is absolute, he had the capability of encouraging people everywhere. As an example, one of my godbrothers is an artist. He once bemoaned the fact that he couldn't go on book distribution. He's always painting. And we'll hear from Dhriti Dasi tomorrow. I was interviewing her just recently, and she was talking about her sojourn in Krishna consciousness and how she actually joined Krishna consciousness right at the time of the Caitanya Caritamrta marathon, and was kind of thrown into the marathon. And anyway, more about that later. I don't want to take too much time on that, but my point is that Prabhupada told this artist who said, all the book distributors, they're going out, and here I am, I'm just painting. And Prabhupada said, the artists are the best book distributors. And Prabhupada had a way of encouraging every one of the devotees by showing them how service is absolute. It's the mood in which you do it that's most important. And a couple of devotees who didn't come to the Mayapur festival one year, Rohini Sutta and Manidhar, who are famous book distributors in Switzerland. And they didn't come to the Mayapur festival, which is pretty much unheard of back in those days when Prabhupada was there. Prabhupada asked where they were, and he said they wanted to stay and distribute books, and Prabhupada deeply appreciated it, that they were connected through their service in separation. There's a couple more comments and questions. I'm going to finish off the board, and then we'll go for the Guru Puja. Not that we'll go anywhere, but we'll transport ourselves through the Guru Puja. A question. This is coming from Ankit. Based on today's discussion, can we say that Krishna's beauty is his most attractive opulence out of the 6 opulences he possesses? Yes, it's mentioned in the Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu that the prominent feature of the spiritual world is wonderment. And that wonderment is based on the fact that Krishna is always getting more beautiful every time you see him. Chitralekha Saki says, I was asking some friends if it is a good idea to get out of the material world. One of them said, it may create a desire to die quickly to go to the spiritual world. Please, how may I best answer her? Well, it depends what you consider to be death. So actually our philosophy is maranam before smaranam. Die to live. So death actually means giving up our proprietorship here in the material world. You can die before you die. In fact, that's how you cheat death. Prabhupada said, cheat death before death cheats you. So how do you cheat death? Just tena tyaktena bunjita magradhaka sasuddhanam. Give up your proprietorship. It doesn't belong to me. It's all for Krishna. And then when death comes to knock and says, okay, give me all your stuff, say, sorry, it's in a revocable living trust. I already gave it to Krishna. I don't have any. Just like the government, just give me your money. It's like, I don't have any money. It's in a trust. Put all your desires into the trust. Put all your ambitions into that trust. So it can't be touched by any collector who comes by. And that's what real death means. And so you don't have to worry about it. We're not going to, the mood of devotional service is not to die, because Prabhupada also mentioned there was one devotee who committed suicide because he thought he made a huge discretion. And Prabhupada said he has avoided service. So even if you feel like leaving, Sanatana Goswami thought, I'll jump in front of the Rath Yatra cart. I'm not worthy of being in Mahaprabhu's association. I'm not doing anything worthy. So I'll jump in front of the Rath Yatra cart in Mahaprabhu's presence. He didn't tell anybody, but Mahaprabhu's omniscient. So he told him one day, I don't approve of your program. He said, if I could have attained Krishna by committing suicide like that, I would have already done it 1,000,000 times. So that's not the process. So if there is a desire that, okay, let me die quickly, go to the spiritual world, you go to the spiritual world while you're in this body. It's not that we're in some material consciousness and then we die and then all of a sudden we go in. No, while we're in this lifetime, we develop Krishna consciousness. And that same consciousness is transferred into the spiritual world. So die to live. Maranam before smaranam. Prem Sarovara. Reflection, Mahaprabhu conducting Vyasa Puja of Lord Nityananda itself taught us the value of humility by action. Yes, he took one of the kalpanas of Nityananda Prabhu, he put it into strips. He said, wear this on your head. This will give you sense control. Sri Madhava Mahotsava, a reflection. Thank you for channeling the spiritual world such a practical way. It reminds me of how the subject matter of the Srimad Bhagavatam becomes sweeter when received through the mouth of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. When you were talking about music and rhythm, I was reminded of some kirtans of Indra Prabhu. I can't really understand it, but makes me want to dance without any reservations. It carries me away. That's important. The kirtan should make us, we should want to be carried away by the kirtan. And there's only one direction we get carried by kirtan, and that's to the spiritual world. And final reflection from Shraddha. I read in Genevieve Harrison's Instagram that one of her devotee friends got caught up in a stream of Ganga in Rishikesh and was getting washed away. Before the help reached, this devotee thought of detergent jingle that the devotee had been listening to through childhood. Yeah. The devotee later wondered how deep-rooted that jingle was in the consciousness of this devotee, that at the time of almost death, that's what surfaced in the mind despite all the chanting and hearing. Yeah. So that's we should be a little slightly concerned about that, not to take too many more jingles in, and take the holy name in as much as possible. Prabhupada writes in the 17th mantra of the Sri Upanishad, Vayuat Anilam Amritam Atedam Bashmantam Shariram, Om Krato Smara, Kritam Smara. Finish it. Very good. That at the time of death, the devotee is thinking, please remember all my sacrifices, my Lord. And then Prabhupada writes very definitively that you don't have to remind Krishna of your sacrifices. He knows what you've done. He said, so if somehow or other the devotee becomes disoriented at the time of death and can't remember Krishna, because it's a very confusing situation, because I'm so used to being my body. And then when I'm separating from it, it's like, wait, what? So there's a way in which Prabhupada says that Krishna won't forget you. So I know that may sound antithetical what I said a few minutes ago, but the point is that Krishna doesn't forget how we've dedicated ourselves throughout this lifetime. And he will help us, in those situations, even when the jingles come up, he can override all of those things by his mercy at the time of death. But it's a good reminder that we have work to do. So if we stay engaged in the beauty of Krishna consciousness, the hearing process, and so forth, and that becomes our primary interest in life, that's a good place to be. And it's important to actually develop that, not philosophically, not think about it, but actually do it, so that we really do have an interest in hearing Krishna Katha, burning desire. And that's what one of Prabhupada's godbrothers used to say, is the safe side. Get on the safe side of life and transfer your affection and your hearing process over to Krishna Katha. Better transfer your assets now before the Yamaraj collection agency comes, and better to transfer them all out and put them in a different account, the Krishna Trust Fund, before he comes and says, okay, give it all back. Hare Krishna. Now we're going to have a Guru Puja. Namasheshtam manamapi shachiputram matsva sarupam Shirupam tasyagrajam uruparim maturim goshtavatim Radha kundam girivadamoho radhika madhavasham Prapto yasya pratita kripaya shri gurum tam natosmi Hey Guru Gyanadadina Bando Swadanda Data Karunaika Sindo Vrindavana Sina Hitavata Prasida Radha Naya Gacharo Hey Dina Bando Karunaika Sindo Guru Prasadam Mayamanda Mune Laksha Paradhe Bahupapa Gadhe Tapada Padmes I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kunda and Govardhana Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Shri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I'm a dull fool and have committed hundreds, thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which you can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. attachment to his lotus feet as the perfection fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us a shade of your lotus feet, your fame spread all over the three worlds. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Bandam Bui Savadana Jahar Sare Bhai Bhavatoriya Krishna Prapti Hoy Hoy Te Guru Charane Rati Aishe Uttama Gati Guru Charane Rati Aishe Uttama Gati Shri Guru Charane Rati Aishe Uttama Gati Prasade Pude Sarva Asha Prasade Pude Sarva Asha Jai Prasade Pude Sarva Asha Prasade Pude Sarva Asha Dan Dilo Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Se Jagudani Loje Janme Janme Prabhu Se Gyan Hriday Prakashita Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasha Jate Jahara Karunandu Adamajanara Bandhu Lokanath Lokera Jivana Lokanath Lokera Jivana Lokanath Lokera Jivana Lokanath Lokera Jivana Ha ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha Mune Pada Chaya 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 Bebe Jash Kushuk Tribhuvana Vijash Kushu Tribhuvana Ha ha Prabhu Korodoya Deha Mune Pada Chaya Ha ha Prabhu Korodoya Deha Mune Pada Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Rishakarine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Rishakarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Lord Premanande, Haribo, Haribo, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Bhajare. Hey, Bhaja Govinda Gopala Hare. Radha Govinda. Come on now. Bhajare. Bihari, Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madhava, Radha Landanishwar, Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar. Radha Kanta, Radha Ramana, Radha Gopinatha, Radha Gopinatha, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Bhajare, hey Radha Govinda Gopala Hare, Govinda Gopala Hare. Aise Shri Bhagavan ko mere parambara pranam hai. Aise Shri Bhagavan ko mere parambara pranam hai. Aise Shri Gyana Shyama ko mere parambara pranam hai. Aise Shri Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Okay, Malini, tell us what we've won. All this plus you've won extra prizes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I wanted to share some good news that Sirisha Mataji was following up with a realtor. We're not revealing the name here, but yesterday Sirisha Mataji had a call with him. And he was so happy about the way we gave him the books. And he was very interested in our cause and he wanted to understand more about it. And we explained everything to him, how we go out on book distribution every weekend. We distribute books. And yesterday, he said that he would be more involved. And he takes care of a group of older people. And he wants them to be involved more in our programs. So we are sharing them about the Bhakti community and all our programs. At the same time, he said that he will give a monthly subscription of $500 every month. So we can distribute. And he wants to distribute $500 worth of books, anything that we like, to everybody in the Bay Area, because he wants to spread this message around.
So it was so nice. Sirisha Mataji, would you like to add something?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. So he's keep on calling that he's interesting to do more in this activities, and he helped Bay Area old adults because they're all stressed out, especially in the pandemic. The people, they are all stressed out with so many mental issues and physical issues. So while we are sharing with Bhakti community, he was so interested, and Mali Mataji and we both said that about our kids online kirtan. He said that yes, it will be very good if we arranged a kirtan for them too. And then he said that if any logistics, he will support the. He knows so many people out there, live musicians, music, something. So all the logistics to arrange, he will help them. He said that, and he said that he will start with $500 every month. Maybe he'll do more, he said. Yeah. I'm so happy. And me and Mali Matiji are thinking, so if the old people will connect with you, Prabhuji, on Bhakti community, maybe at this time they will read with you. That will be a very great success. That's what we are thinking and praying.
This is a big success because people have a tendency to love, and because you've given them a channel through which they can offer their love to Krishna through giving up some of the things that are dear to them, that they work hard for. This is an expression of love. This is the purpose of the Sankirtan movement. Because you're so relentless in your execution of the Sankirtan movement, meeting people, talking to them over months and years, and diligently following up with everybody. And Krishna then through you begins to reveal channels to expand the Sankirtan movement. It gives people facility. So you're acting as an instrument, Shrisha Mataji. This is very, very important and enlivening. So this is a big breakthrough, not just because of this one personality, but also it shows us what the future looks like in expanding book distribution. Thank you very, very much for this incredibly, exceedingly good news. Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanande.
Thank you so much, Sirisha Mataji. And we had a wonderful session yesterday, Prabhu, with His Holiness Devamrit Swami Maharaj about the Caitanya Caritamrta publishing. And Maharaj shared so many important things about reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Maharaj mentioned one thing which was very inspiring. He said that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to read Chaitanya Charitamrita in his leisure time, just like to pass in his leisure time. So he was encouraging everybody to start reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he said that there's so many books in the go down waiting to be distributed. So he encouraged everybody to distribute them as well, Prabhu. So we will continue our calling party today at 2 p.m. And we have many devotees going out. Like we saw Krishna Prabhu already driving his car to go to Walmarts in some faraway place. And then Kautukarna Prabhu and Halarupa Prabhu, everybody is going out. They are being very careful, but they're still going out. Prabhu, also we would like to make one announcement. One of the integral parts of our Sankirtan is also our media, the videos that we publish, even for the fundraising or any other things, and our materials that we give out flyers, cards, and everything. And our Priya Kishori is the force behind that, and she has done so much service. And yesterday was her birthday, Prabhu, so we would like to wish her as well.
Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsimhadev, if you so desire, please always protect our Priya Kishori and give her taste for the holy names, Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Caitanya Caritamrta, and spreading the Sankirtan movement all over the world. Please keep her always close to us, and engage, so she can engage her talents and pleasing Srila Prabhupada, her Guru Maharaj, and all the devotees all over the world through her aesthetic creations and brilliance of design. Thank you very much for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. And look, just as we said that, Priya Kishori appeared. Vanchakalpa trupyascha kripa sindhu bhyaevacha patitam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Speech.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. I'll go Shishya Prabhupada. I'm immensely blessed to be amongst all of you. And last year was a year like no other. And no matter what, we re-engineered and had this opportunity to make such a big impact in the world and so many beautiful memories. And I'm so grateful to have served with all of you. And I pray that on my birthday, this is a new beginning for me, so I can dedicate myself more fully to your service. And I know everything good will come out of being in your association, and that's the only treasure of my life. And I hope Krishna always keeps me close to all of you and in your service. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Haribo. Thank you very much, Malini and Priya Kishori. Any other points?
Prabhu, we have the youth presentation today.
Yes. Okay, Bhakti community, we have a short announcement, and then we have a youth presentation just after that.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances for Goshishu Prabhupada. We had very, very good news to share today. Last Sunday, we had a blissful retreat within spiritual fitness where on befriending your mind. So it was a wonderful retreat where we had several newcomers participate. And they learned the nature of the mind, how they form habits, and how it can be either an enemy or friend. So we had various aha moments in the conversation. We had various role plays, various activities which all the newcomers participated. And we also had Kirtan from our own Madhuripura Prabhu. So overall, it was a wonderful, blissful experience for all the newcomers. We had close to 136 registered people who registered, newcomers who registered for the event, and 75 actually joined us in the virtual retreat. So overall, it was wonderful. It was one of the first virtual retreat we conducted. So I'm very happy that we got the opportunity to serve all of them. I just want to share some of the testimonials or reflections we collected after the virtual retreat was done. One is from Denise. Denise says, this group has helped me calm my anxiety and refocus on what is important. I have never looked at mindfulness as a spiritual practice until now. Looking at what mindfulness can bring into my life has helped me have more control over my mind. I cannot thank this group enough for introducing me to these practices. I always leave feeling uplifted and that I was part of a community. The messages are clearly from the heart and shared in a compassionate way that contributes to the group opening up and sharing and reflecting together. Similarly, we have Michelle who said, in such an isolating time, it is a gift to feel a part of something so beautiful. The event today was not only informative, but elevating. Thank you for creating such a safe and inspiring space. Linda said, this workshop was amazing. The meditation, music, and spiritual knowledge that were shared gave me a strong sense of hope that I did not have before in my life. Please have more of these on Sundays. It was great to attend an open day where I did not have the distraction of work, etc. Thank you so much. We had more such testimonials, but I want to read the last one, where Mariam gave 10 out of 10 rating for the experience, and she said, no reason will do justice to the 10 out of 10 rating that she has given. So I want to take this opportunity. I think Ankita Mataji is there as well. We had lots of devotees who came together and serving this. Ankita Mataji, if you're there, if you want, maybe quickly share your realizations in encouraging newcomers to join, and what feedback that you got if you're still on the call.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sure, please accept my humble obeisances. Yeah, the workshop was very, really deep and immersive. Many people found it very engaging and constructive. I personally liked the exercise of writing our habits down. So we had to write the habits we want to change and cultivate. And as Vaisesika Maharaj said, it helps in manifesting our thoughts into reality. And the topic of befriending your mind was such a prevalent and pertinent topic for corporate culture these days, as we learned about like what is mind, the techniques to control the mind, and how we are separate from mind. And I also received, Prabhu, some personal feedback, and I just want to read them out. They're just one-liners. So from Josh, who is a regular, he said, "I love Vash. He's a star always." And he always follows what Vaisesika Maharaj says. So I think once Vaisesika Maharaj said, "Tulsi is the queen of my garden," and he's into gardening, and he bought a Tulsi plant, and he was showing that to me. And then Linda also personally messaged me saying that really liked the explanation of gradation of senses, mind, and intelligence, and that consciousness is pervading all this. And she also told me that especially on a Sunday, people felt very relaxed and rejuvenated. The kirtan was also lifted people's spirits and transported them to another heart. And then there was an anonymous, he didn't want me to reveal his name, but he said, "Ankita, I'm taking therapy and I loved this session, especially the mantra. Can we talk more on this?" So I really want to thank Vaisesika Prabhu for expanding his mercy in corporate realm. And it is extremely satisfying to see people take Krishna's name. And thank you so much, Jayamada Prabhu and Pavni Bhakti Mataji, for all the content curation and presenting it in such a nice way. And I also want to thank Manjari Gopika Mataji for, because she has helped raise this army at Salesforce. I couldn't have done this without her. So yeah, she's been doing this for the last 4 years. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. I do want to take this opportunity and thank all the volunteers of Bhakti community and spiritual fitness who came together to make this successful. Ankita Mataji, Ananga Gopika Mataji, Sadhana Mataji, Kautukarna Prabhu, Krishna Prabhu, Adi Mataji, Akash Prabhu, Akshay Prabhu, Madhurpura Prabhu, Ramrati Prabhu, Soumya Mataji, Suleka Mataji, and Vrinda Mataji, Sundaran Prabhu as well. So thank you everyone for a blissful Sunday, and looking forward to more and more of these spiritual retreats in future. Thank you so much for the opportunity to provide Bhakti community update today.
Thank you for doing this groundbreaking service, which is now spreading all over the world, Jai Madhava Prabhu. To both you and Pavani Bhakti and your whole team. It's very important. Now we have a youth presentation about Krishna consciousness. So please get some popcorn and a lassi and get ready. Hey, look, it's who's giving the presentation?
Hare Krishna.
Bharat. Now, this is something I'm sitting up for. Okay, go for it.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurinmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you so much for this opportunity for me to give my humble attempt to glorify the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapters 10 and 11. Before I get started, I want to thank my teachers, Shamarupa Prabhu and Her Grace Shri Mataji, for teaching this amazing content in such an easy to understand way. And yeah, and so now I'll get started. So today's main topic is going to be about the ecstasy of separation and meeting. So as living entities in this material world, we often feel attachment to some material objects. And when we tend to lose these objects, we tend to feel a feeling of separation, or we tend to get sad or worried, and we go looking for these objects that are lost. And the opposite is true for when we come in contact with something new. We tend to get excited and use that object a lot. So similar to this feeling of separation and like excitement, devotees on a much higher level, which is almost incomprehensible, feel the same way for Krishna. Now, to give some context on today's presentation, this like the setting of the scene is it's after the end of the Mahabharata war, and Bhishma Dev and Lord Krishna have already given their guidance to Lord Maharaj Yudhishthira, who is going to be taking control of the earth and rule over the earth and seas, and he's going to be followed by his brothers. Now, during Maharaj Yudhishthira's rule, there is no diseases, no excessive heat or cold, and this is because he's ruling so righteously that when you have a good leader, everything is going like well. Now, during this time, Lord Krishna stayed at Hastinapur for a few months, but soon after he had to leave to fulfill his duties as king of Dwarka. So he's on his way back to Dwarka. And when the Kuru dynasty heard this, they all nearly fainted. And this is because they've been associating with Krishna so much. You know, they've been seeing him, eating with him, conversing with him. And this feeling of separation that they're going to feel is so intense that they all nearly fainted. Now, on Krishna's way out, as he's leaving Dwarka, the Kuru ladies, the ladies of the Kuru dynasty, they're not able to go down and physically say their goodbyes to Lord Krishna because that was a tradition at the time. So they're on the rooftops and they're conversing about Krishna and talking about his various glories. And one of the prayers by one of the ladies is as follows. His existence is beyond the creation and annihilation of the material world. He is understood only by devotees cleansed of material contamination. The Yadu dynasty, the land of Mathura and Dwarka, are most glorious and his wives are greatly fortunate. Now Krishna hears this prayer coming inside from their heart and he reciprocates by smiling or some other action, and then he leaves on his way to Dwarka. So as Krishna reaches the border of Dwarka, he sounds his conch shell, and this is said to pacify the dejecting citizens. So basically the citizens have been anxiously waiting for Krishna's return to Dwarka. And when they hear this conch shell, they get really excited because it's like a sign that Krishna is coming back. So they go and they quickly grab whatever gifts they can, and they go and run out to greet Krishna. Now, when they come, they offer their gifts. And when they're offering their gifts, it's compared to offering a lamp to the sun. Like Krishna is so opulent, he has everything, but still he accepts each and every gift from the devotees because he lovingly reciprocates with each and every one. And the citizens also give a beautiful prayer, which is, Dear Lord, it's our good fortune that we are able to see your smiling face again. Please continually give us this mercy, for whenever you go away to Mathura, Vrindavan, or Hastinapur, a moment of your absence appears like millions of years. Now, this can be compared to like when we're in a situation we don't like. Normally, time tends to feel very slow. Like if you're in a math class you don't like, you'll be doing your math work and you'll look up and it's only been 3 minutes, but it's felt like already 3 hours. Now, similar to this, when the citizens of Dwarka, when Krishna leaves, the time when he's gone, it feels like it's been millions of years when only it's been maybe a few months or a year. And this is because they're waiting for Krishna, like just to come back, and they're continuously waiting. And when he finally does come back, they get so excited. So when the citizens offer their gifts, Krishna is said to reciprocate with each one befittingly. Some he'll give a handshake, some he'll embrace, and if they're senior, he'll bow his head. Now, although the citizens are regularly accustomed to seeing Krishna's beauty, the residents of Dwarka are never satiated. And this is because Krishna's beauty is so opulent that every time you see him, it gets more and more beautiful. So it's not like the material world where whenever you it's said to be chewing the chewed. But with Krishna's beauty, every time you see him, it gets more and more beautiful. And there's an analogy given that's similar to like the Purusha avatar, which is like the universal form. And I think this little section does a great job of expanding on that. It says, as he walked on the road, it seemed that the sun, his umbrella, the moon, his fan, the stars, flower showers, the rainbow, his garland, the cloud, his body, and lightning, his dress, simultaneously appeared. So this is like as Krishna is walking down the road, he's also manifesting in all these various phenomenon like lightning and like clouds, rainbows, and this is like a signal that Krishna has arrived. And later the Lord was embraced by his mothers, headed by Devaki, who were delighted to see, just like any mother, like mothers are always happy to see their son again. So similarly, Devaki is also very happy to see Lord Krishna again. And afterwards, Krishna entered his palaces to meet his wives, who shyly covered their faces. And this isn't because they didn't want to embrace Krishna, it's because they already embraced him within their heart, and that was satisfied, like they were satisfied from that. And their physical, like the way they physically showed their like welcome him was by sending their sons forward. And the relationship between Krishna and his wives does not have a tinge of lust. And this is because Krishna, like the charms of the ladies are said to be so much that they can charm even Cupid and Lord Shiva, but they don't charm Lord Krishna because his senses are so like supreme. And similarly, when devotees, when they don't become influenced by material qualities, and this is because they've had a higher taste, that once they've like achieved devotional service, then they don't find material qualities to be attractive anymore. So to kind of add on to this point, there's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, verse 30, and it goes like, Shri Parado Vacha Matirna Krishne Paratasvato Va Mito Bipadyeta Graha Vritanam Adanta Gobir Vishatam Tamishram Puna Punascharvita Charvananam. Prahlad Maharaj replied, because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress toward hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. So in this verse, it's talking about how those who are addicted to materialistic life, they're chewing what's already been chewed. So you can kind of think of this like a stale piece of gum. So when you're chewing it, there's not any flavor coming out, but you're still chewing it because you haven't experienced anything better. And devotional service, think of it as like a everlasting flavorful gum. That when you put it in your mouth, every time you chew it, there's more and more flavor coming out. And similar to, and like when you taste that gum, then you don't want the materialistic gum. And so this kind of thing can motivate us to do more devotional service, to not only like not become as addicted to the material life, but also it allows us to like nurture this innate love for Krishna that we have, because in the end it says their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused. This means that all of us have we all have this tendency to love Krishna, but we just need to nurture that love, and devotional service is the best way to do that. So thank you so much for your time, dear devotees. If I made any mistakes, please correct me, because this is just my humble attempt and I'm no expert on this topic. And thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
We can hear you, Prabhu.
Bart, that was so satisfying. It's like a complete meal put together painstakingly to show a segment of Lord Krishna's pastimes so directly Krishna conscious that it really moved us. And you presented in a very confident, smooth, and realized way, like you had affection for the subject matter. Thank you very much. Please keep doing this. It's important for the whole world. Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanande Haribol. Everyone agrees, give a thumbs up. Okay. Got a lot of thumbs up. Sharirad Vijaja Jodindriya Tahika Jime Pele Vishaya Shagare Dharma Jedi Vayati Taki Jita Gatita Samsare Krishna Bora Doyamo Doi Bare Jivaja Swaprasad Dilo Bahar Shea Namrita Pao Radha Krishna Shri Caitanya Nita Premedako Shri Caitanya Nita Mahapachare Govinde Naramani Vaishnave Saukapunya Vadam Rajan Vishwaso Narjaya Vishade Sarva Dukhanam Hariyaso Jayate Prasana Chetaso Yashu Puttavaya Vajate Tvayo Pragupta Shukanda Vasundara Sharchita Uchita Bhojino Dasa Davamayam Jayevahi Bhagavad Shri Mahaprasada Ki Gaura Premanande Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Please come take prasadam. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining for the morning program here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. May you go forward and prosper in your day. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpadrishcha kripasindhavevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Everyone can unmute and say, Gauranga.
Gauranga.
Gauranga.